we do the roll or the call to order roll call.
Borough,
Here.
Vice President Gerard,
Here.
Councilmember Bacon,
Here.
Councilmember Presser. Here. Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Mayor Gerard,
Here.
Borough Manager Snyder.
Here.
Borough Solicitor Harper.
Here.
All right, we'll go to item one, approval of the meeting agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for March 1st, 2023 workshop meeting? I'll second. I got a motion from Councilwoman Cresser, a second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions, changes, or amendments? All in favor? Opposed? There are none. All right, we'll go to item two, public input. If there's anyone from the public that would like to make a statement or ask a question, please stand, go up to the podium and tell us your name and your address and your reason for addressing council. Okay, I guess there are none. We'll go to item three, announcements.
Next council meeting is March 15th, regular meeting at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. Borough is scheduled to meet Wednesday, March 22nd at 8 a.m. here in council chambers. The zoning hearing board is scheduled to meet Thursday, March 23rd at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. Hatfield Museum Historical Society is scheduled to meet Tuesday, March 28th at 7 p.m. at the Hatfield Volunteer Fire Company. The next planning commission meeting is scheduled for April 3rd at 7 p.m. here in council chambers, and the borough offices will be closed Thursday, March 9th from 11 to 1 p.m. for a MS4 mandatory training.
All right, any questions? If none, we'll go to item four, the junior council person program. And we have the Honorable Dean Gilcom from Saugerton here to talk through that.
Mayor Newton has kindly come here, and he will speak to us, give a brief presentation about the junior council person program. It should be on that. And keep your questions. He's here to answer questions, any concerns, anything you want to know about it. I think now's our time to, ask the questions. He's a pro. He not only hasn't been Saugerton, but when he was in high school, he was a junior council person. So the best person to find out about the program.
Very good, thank you. I'm not used to being on this side. Being up there. Foreign land like that feels. Thanks, Mayor Gerard. I to be here tonight. I understand you're considering talking about the adding a junior council position. I give you a very brief background of myself that might help, and then some insight into what the program is as we have it in Saugerton. I was a junior counselor in Saugerton Borough when I was in high school. I was influential in my life. I went to college to study public administration because of that role, and eventually moved back to Saugerton. I've been on Borough for 10 years, and my second year as mayor of Saugerton. And I credit all of that to being a junior council person. A little insight into what that means, at least in Saugerton. The program is run through the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs, but it's not incredibly formal. I can talk a little bit about what that means, but if you have fear that this is something that you're getting locked into as far as regulation wise, it's not. In Saugerton, what the junior council person does is basically we choose somebody. We have the similar problem that you have most likely is that Saugerton school district or the Saugerton mailing address is pretty sizable, but finding a junior or sometimes a senior, but we try to pick a junior in high school that lives within Saugerton Borough and is interested is sometimes a challenge. But we've always managed to find somebody, and that person sits amongst us, comes to every meeting, sits in any committee they're interested in, sits in every work session and regular meeting. They can talk, although most of the time this is kind of an intimidating room, so without prompting, usually they don't say too much, but we welcome their opinion. They give a totally different perspective than we have. They are high school students. They represent the youth in the community. And if you get a good one, they actually provide great insight because they're coming at these things without any baggage, really. without any, preconceived notions, and mostly without any history about the issues. So they'll give you their honest opinion, and we have found it very valuable. And more importantly, frankly, than the value that the junior counselor adds to the borough, it provides a huge amount of value to that student. In my case, is probably an extreme example. Most do go on to come back to do exactly what they did when they were in high school. But it's like an internship. And, if they treat it correctly and you all treat it correctly and engage them and try to get them involved, in a specific project that they can take ownership of, it's a great win for their resume. And can really be beneficial for both parties. As far as the program itself, it is what you make it. The Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs administers the program, but it's not like we report anything to them. It's not like there's stringent requirements. Our number one rule that we always open the counselors with is if it's schoolwork, extracurricular activities, that comes first. Don't say our meetings till 11 p.m. just because you feel obligated to. So it's not a super formal thing that they set up here. They, wherever you have room for them. And so they get to put on a suit and tie maybe for the first time and feel important and feel like a part of something together. And we have found it incredibly valuable. So if you have any hesitation because it's of the formality or trying to find a student, we have the same problem, but I think we will manage it. So I would be a huge advocate for the program.
Obviously, dress code for us is important.
That's what you do on regular.
I do have a question. The students that you had who have actually gone through the program, have they, you said you're trying to get a junior, ideally a junior person who's in junior school or junior high school, and, preferably, have they stuck through the entire program, or have they gone like 1 year and then said, didn't think it was what I wanted or what I expected and dropped out? What's your experience with the participants?
Yeah, in my experience in the 10 years and then the time in between that I was on it, and I don't think anybody's ever dropped out. We try to find a junior because with 2 years, you can actually kind of learn what's going on. 1 year is pretty short. In the past, yeah, sometimes they're on a sports team that we don't see them very often. But usually we try to vet somebody that's actually interested. But if you choose a senior, it's fine, they're in for a year. But as a junior, they get more insight. But I don't think anybody's ever dropped out because they hated it. We usually go to our guidance counselors and our principal. It's our high school to try to find. That's how we vet. Or just all of you, we're the same. Whose friend do you have that has a kid in high school? Are they interested? And that's how we've had success.
Have you ever had college kids do this? I know it's open to high school and college. Have you ever had college kids do this?
No, in fact, I didn't even know it was open to college. That's what it
Yes.
was in high school. I mean, it's average enough, unless they're going to community college, they probably wouldn't be.
Right.
But we've always used only high school students.
And do the counselors want to, does it happen during the school year and they have the summers off, or do you carry it? Because we have meetings in the summer. Are they obligated to come to the meetings in the summer also, or just during the school year?
Yeah, they're not obligated to come to any meetings there, but yes, we don't differentiate. Usually their senior year gets a little dicey because they go to college and then there's a gap between when we don't have one, but no, we don't. We ask them to come to as many meetings as they can. But there's no requirement, if they miss a meeting, just like any of us, if they miss a meeting, it's not a big deal. Especially, it's less of a big deal for them.
Now, any feedback that the junior counselors are giving, how receptive is the borough council to listening to that, taking that into consideration?
Yeah, that's a good question. It kind of depends on who's in charge. The current, we have kind of a new council. And the current resident Tracy Borough, I don't know if, you know, people think the mayors interact, we really don't. I doubt the presidents interact either, but Tracy will actually stop the conversation. Junior council, we actually have two right now for the first time ever. Because we had two great candidates and we didn't want to choose, so we have two. Eli and Estrella is their names. Hey, what do you think about this topic? Does it have a huge impact on what we actually do policy wise? Well, probably not, but it's good to hear from them and get them engaged. Yeah, and so what we're doing now is, so I am the mentor for one of them, which it's unfortunate for that one, but the other one had a better mentor. Another counselor has a mentor too. And we want by the end of 2 years to have them actually think of a project that is, you know, relatively on a smaller scale and execute it from start to finish with our help. So then they really don't just get a theoretical idea of what this is, but they actually can do something that they can put their name on for the borough. Then they go off to college, and generally speaking, other than perhaps myself, we don't hear from them again, but we hear from their parents all the time who are still in the community and say that we've heard time and time again what an influence the position was on their child. And then the parent, all of a sudden, you have somebody who's a little bit more engaged than maybe wasn't before. It has a lot of fringe benefits more than just two kids sitting in a seat.
When you guys went to set it up, did you really set, you know, like objectives for what you as your municipality wanted to achieve from it? I mean, I know obviously the kids get a lot of experience, but you know, was there specific things you were looking for other than just general feedback?
Well, it was set up before, I wasn't the first, I mean, it was set up long before I was involved, but no, we could have done a better job of that. We are only now with Tracy Burke as our president, sort of carrying on this mentorship program and project specific and asking their opinion. There have been times where the junior counselor has sort of just held the wall up and, you know, doesn't engage at all, and that's council's fault more than the junior counselors. Even though the answer is no, but you all going into it now would have a little more thought on that.
And how do you choose? Is it a group decision, or do you have more than one applicant typically that you have to, like, is there a vetting process? Or?
Yeah, so this year's the first time I think we probably ever had more than one to choose from, because we're like you, we're a small borough, where there's not that many high school juniors that live in Sourdough Borough. But we, in any case, whether there's one or multiple, we bring them in, we do an interview like you would interview anybody for civil service commission or whatever else you're interviewing for. And in this case, they were both great, so we chose two. But it's formal, I mean, we make them go through the process as much, again, as much for their sake of going through it as it is for us to vet them. But yeah, it's an application, they wrote us a letter, their guidance counselor probably helped them with that, and then any qualified applicant would come and interview with council, and then we just did a collective decision. Usually it's pretty easy, there's only one, but.
And did they interview with all of council at one time, or did they interview like with you as the mayor and the manager, and then they would provide that guidance and feedback?
Nope, we interview them all at once. We have 9 members of council, so it's an intimidating, yeah. But yes, we interview them all at once.
Any other questions?
I know if you're thinking about it, it's been great. It's not a huge commitment to you. Depending on your level of involvement, it could be almost no commitment to you, but if you want to administer well, it's sort of someone's job and find an applicant and mentor that person, but it's it is what you make of it, and at least for me, it has been strongly influential, so if I can encourage, because you have a kid out there in Hatfield Borough that might actually really benefit from this, so if you're asking my opinion, I would give you 100% endorsement to go forward with the program. All right?
I want to thank you so much. We really appreciate it and just giving us that insight.
Yeah.
I think will be, whatever our decision is, I think will be better informed. It'll be a better decision based on what the case.
Let me know what you decide.
Oh, I will.
And this was the shortest meeting I've had, so. All right, thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
If I can answer any questions. All right, thank you.
I think that was informative. I think the biggest thing I got from that was really, we do it, we kind of set up a mentoring program, set up some objectives, things like that, so, you know.
Things like kids, keep the younger person involved.
Yeah.
It's fine, also, like you said, we put into it. So the more you put into it, and they're gonna get a lot either way, so I think it's very good idea.
We just have to make sure, Lindsay or Dave don't think that they're gonna help with their job on a daily basis.
And
What about me? It's your summer house.
Yeah, just not.
Did we budget somehow in there?
We didn't think that it was.
Just, moving forward, do you want this to continue to be a topic of discussion on future agendas? What the next formal step, I think, for council is you have to enact a resolution, Mayor can.
Right, yes.
Okay, but, I don't know if you're at that point yet to make a decision. I know we just spoke about kind of setting up parameters and guidelines. I'm not sure if you want some type of subcommittee or the mayor to work on those. I just want to know formality if you would like to see a resolution to adopt the program on a future agenda.
Well, I think based on some of the feedback we got today, if we can kind of outline some of those objectives, who would mentor that person, you know, let's kind of outline some of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. To me, it's worthwhile, just to,
Yeah.
just to get the younger people involved, and as you said, and their parents then become more attentive to different issues and.
Yeah, I mean, it really resonated with me when you talked about how they could have done a better job of engaging in the beginning. Because I was picturing what I was like at that age and thinking the same thing. Yeah, if you're not engaging with me, I probably just sat there and, you know, not probably said a whole lot. So, yeah, so it got to be an important part of the consideration. So, yeah. But I think everyone agrees that we should pursue it. I think we just need to outline some of those objectives and that. So from a resolution standpoint, when we start, is it something we want to start crafting now? When would we,
So do you have anything?
So PSAP provides the sample resolution that the mayor provided us that just basically authorizes that we're gonna do a program. If you'd like to see some outline before that, it could just be a topic of discussion at a future meeting when the mayor would provide an outline or a mentorship type of program and bring ideas to council before you would basically adopt the program, or you could adopt the program and then figure out all your details later.
why don't you take the PSAB resolution, make it Hatfield, and see if you guys like it, or if you think there should be more to it, you know what I mean? And I think that would get you started.
Right, a resolution, sample resolution was,
Right.
included in, I think, the last packet. Okay.
Right, so Jamie can take it, make it a Hatfield resolution, and if that works, you can pass that and get started.
I think it's a pretty standard resolution, just that you're going to adopt the program. Doesn't list any guidelines, but if you adopt the program, then work on the guidelines and figure it out before the fall of 2023, which I would assume would be when we would have some candidates to start off with the school year. So then you have some time to have the program and make the guidelines and regulations and mentorship that I think the mayor's interested in being a big part of.
So I would also suggest you reach back out to PSAB and see what they have, other than the resolution. They probably have guidelines and stuff you can look
Yeah,
at. too.
they have a lot of guidelines, but
Right.
I don't think anything specific is, each borough might have a different
It's,
agenda that they want to pursue.
right,
I think the only thing that I remember is they had, like a, certificate to award to the council person at the end, and
Of
to
their service.
recognize and have, they make a,
just thinking you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just take
Right.
somebody else's wheel and add a few spokes.
So it does look like they have a sample resolution and a lot, yeah, like you said, they have a lot of information on it.
There's a lot.
For sure, the resource guide, all about the program, sample press release to announce. So, yeah, they have a ton of resources.
Yeah, I think it's just the formality of if you would like the program, you just have to adopt the resolution to state that you like the program, and you can probably come up with the details following that. If that's the way that council would like to move forward.
So I think that would be the next step.
That's-
Do the
that's
resolution
fine.
and then figure out the guidelines.
Yeah. that's fine.
Any other questions? Thank you, Madam Mayor, for arranging.
A pleasure.
All right, we'll go to item 5, reports of standing committees and the mayor. So first committee is budget, labor, and finance. So we did meet today, and we did meet 2 weeks earlier, if I remember correctly. Our agendas have been pretty long. But today we sat down, we had a quick conversation, kind of review of the audits that we presented, during the last council meeting. Kind of went through some of the details. One of the things that we're going to do is a couple hours a month, give Diane some assistance, or bring someone in to help with your journals, just things like that. Because that was one of the audit findings that we were behind on, and then the company would go in and make those journals for us. So don't know to be a cost save. I think based on the number, we'll probably wash out. It'll probably be about the same what we're spending there. But it'll definitely let Diane focus on some other things as well. So I think it's worthwhile to do. And then we're talking about the 2022 audit beginning soon. So as you know, we're behind because of COVID. So hopefully we'll begin that audit soon. Jamie, when can we expect a report on that? You said sometime in the fall.
Yes, so if they do the scheduled audit normally in the spring, we should have the feedback in the fall. They used to perform it in March, and we would have it like early to midsummer. So now I'm expecting just of getting back on track. We would have the audit performed in May, and we would have feedback hopefully by September.
We also talked about updates to the employee handbook. Most of them were pretty standard. We talked about we added a section on paternity, and some short-term, long-term disability language, which we'll present to council next week, or the next council meeting. But other than that, it was pretty standard changes. We also allocated funds for workers to be able to buy shoes or other safety equipment they want, $75, a year, that they can use to other safety equipment. It specifies specifics, but it gives them the flexibility if they want the earmuffs or glasses or anything. So pretty standard changes coming to the handbook. We'll get more detail from next week. We also talked about our investments. Rich did some great calculations based on the numbers from last year, and just trying to determine if we want to offset or hedge some of our investments, or invest some of our money more in a T-bill account. I'll turn it over to Rich. You can talk about some of the specifics on that, but we spent a lot of time talking through that. We're going to do some more analysis. And then I think the idea is that we'll come back with a proposal for the March 15th meeting to approve on April 5th. So the idea is just to give authorization to the manager to invest in funds. Once we do the analysis and the manager meets with KeyBank, we'll have a little bit more detail to understand how much more invest in that. But for more to come on that later, but Rich, go ahead and talk through some.
Without getting too deep into the weeds, basically what we're trying to do is because of the extreme volatility in the stock market over the past year or so, we're trying to see about preserving our investments while taking advantage of other options such as T-bills for the interest rates on them going up. So what we're considering is, based on the analysis that we have from our investment results from last year, we are looking about either taking $750,000 or possibly $1 million out of our current funds and putting them into a longer-term instrument, a two-year T-bill, which would pay a guaranteed higher rate for the two-year period. The main consideration is the fact that once we take this money out, we can't touch it for the span of time that we buy the particular note, which in this case we're looking at is 2 years. So we have to be sort of careful that we do not take too much out of our investments, just in case we run up against something unexpected and have to have some immediate funds. So right now, we are looking at two options, one for the 750,000 now, and the other one for $1 million to be taken out, to be put out for the 2-year period. Right now, as of today, the last time I checked, the 2-year T-bill notes are yielding 4.81%. So that's a guaranteed return, which is pretty good considering the situation. So we're looking into it. Nothing's been finalized at this point, but the finance committee will be getting more information and will be making a decision in the near future.
I just want to point out that local governments are limited in what they can invest in. I gotta believe T-bills are on the list of things they can invest in.
More securities from through the United States government.
Exactly, and that's what the investments the local governments are allowed to use are limited to things that are relatively safe, and that sounds very safe, okay? I just wanted to point that out so that we check and make sure whatever it is the committee recommends is on the list of things that we can invest in.
Right.
The other thing I wanted to mention was, I don't think Hatfield uses it, the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust. Like it, you might look at it and see if their rates are any good too, because they're all approved investments as well. Okay,
But Rich, is there any, is it only 2 year, or do they have different terms? Is there a 1 year?
Oh, there's 1 year through 10. Yeah,
Then-
1, 2, 4. There's 5, there's 7, 10. I think there's even a 20-year T-bill.
And the longer you lock it up.
Yeah, the rates are higher. The longer the term is that you lock it in for, the rates are higher. But you don't want to put it out there too long. That's why I'm suggesting 2 years right now. You know, we get a good return on it, but still you have to, you are going to get it back and make a decision at that point, what you want to do, if you want to take it a little further or just cash it out. Okay.
So like I said, we did ask Jamie to go ahead and get some language put behind that so that we can use that as an option. Doesn't mean we will, but if we put language behind and get a resolution going, this gives us the option, flexibility to do it. So to Richard's point, the T-bill notes the rate is dropping. So obviously we want to lock it in, but we got some more financial calculations to do before we make that final decision. And we'll present that to council as well. So.
I was just trying to put something. The solicitor had said that she would put some language together for us so we can see it at the meeting on the 15th.
Kate, do you have information on what you were just talking about with the other government funding?
Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust. I'm sure we can find it on the web. Yes. It's called Pligget, and it's pretty popular. And I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure Jamie can find it too, but I can find it if we need.
It's actually in the magazines, they have pages.
Right, they usually write an article in
A
here.
lot, yes.
Not every month, but they often write an article because it is all local governments and they like to, encourage people to invest.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, a lot of municipalities have funds at Pliget. I know the consortium does. That's where our PMEA account is through is Pliget. So it's very common in local government.
The recycling commission has their funds in there. And I know the school district, I was for that's.
And they're set up to be approved for local governments. Well, they may not always be the best deal, so you have to check that, but, I know they'd be approved if they had a good deal that you wanted.
We also talked about the septic property. Basically, the contract is still under review, so there's more to come on that. And then the communications committee, as you guys remember, we talked about setting up a committee separately focused on communication, how we're going to communicate what that process look like, what are the guidelines for that. So basically, budget level finance basically just decided that we're going to set up a framework for that. We'll figure out who will lead that. And then we will let the committee figure out the specifics, going forward. So hopefully within the next month or so, we'll have this to follow. Any questions? I know there's a lot of stuff we just covered. Okay. All right, we'll go to planning, building and zoning.
This committee has not met in the last month, and so I'm not going to report.
All right. How about public safety?
The committee has not met, in the last month, although, the police officers were doing some, traffic studies on Thomas Avenue. They're also doing Blaine right now, so once they have those complete, then they'll be in the next informer.
And what is driving the comments site is that we've done that a few times. Haven't we, in the last few comments?
It's just because that's a common one where they're speeding, so
Okay.
we threw that one in there too.
Okay.
Just to see if we're still in the same spot, or if there's more speeding, or if it needs more investment.
I guess it'd be interesting to see, since we put the bump out and see, compare the new numbers with the numbers we did before the bump out, see is that impact the traffic. Okay. All right, how about public works, property and equipment?
We did that.
You feel it?
The utilities committee has not met, however, we are still monitoring the delinquencies of the electric. And that's about all.
How about her?
HEROC has not met, but we have partially finalized the Borough Hatfield package. I have put together all the documentation, which is now being reviewed for any additions or any other changes that may want to be made. And we hopefully are still on track to get this started by the mid part of the year of June, sort of getting these out. One thing I'm still investigating is see if we can get some coupons from some of the local businesses, see if we can add to the package for the new residents to move in, or maybe discounts of local businesses.
Any questions? All right, Mayor Gerard, do you have a report? for us?
Yes, I do. I attended the recycling commission meeting back in February. And a couple of things there. We have a new vice chair and a new secretary. Our solicitor is in the process of reviewing our current recycling ordinance. They felt it was a good time to review it. We're going to seek other members to be on the commission. And they thought we needed to review the ordinance, and they're going to revise it and take into consideration hazardous waste and e-waste. So I think that's a good step. The 904 recycling grant was submitted for 2021, and it's estimated to be only about 244K, which is down. Seems like it's constantly going down, and that's because the tonnage is down. Now, the engineer attended a webinar put out by DEP, and apparently it was reported there that some haulers are reporting trash that they are collecting from apartments as commercial waste rather than residential. And per the brand, we get a higher reimbursement rate for residential versus commercial. So we're going to review different, like we have the apartment complex across New York's, that's a pretty big one. So we're going to take big apartment complexes and the haulers that are responsible for that and see how they report that, whether it's commercial or residential. So if we can bump up brands because, a change is made, the proper way of reporting it, that would be very helpful.
Do they have flexibility in how they define that, or you think that you automatically define a certain way?
Well,
So I'm asking.
I'm not, nobody really, the commission said that they want to see what formula the trash haulers use to determine the tonnage. That has not yet been determined, but they want to get more involved with how the report is done. So I think if we, dig down and see, I think that'll be very, very helpful. So hopefully, it seemed like at this last meeting it was just so much was discussed, and it was like people were willing to take it another step just to find out what's going on. Why is it constantly going down? So, I think it's gonna probably end up to, once we get this down, I think we'll be in a much better position. And I think the reason they're doing that is because they want to attract more communities. Because the more, there's 11 municipalities, the more you get, the more powerful you are. So, if we want to attract new members, we need to, put ourselves out there and, show them that we're doing things the right way. And, as part of that, we're going to, increase the media coverage for different events that we have. And, I know there are grants that are available for schools. We're going to publicize that rather than just give it to schools. We're going to, do press releases just to increase our visibility. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Okay, that's all I have for that. But I went and had a stroll through the borough a couple weeks ago, and I walked down, Larkspur Lane, just knocked on a couple of doors and spoke with some people. And, one of the residents asked me, and I think Steve's gonna like this, what about putting a doggy park in Heritage Park? Steve, looking at Steve's doing this thing.
Give me the side eye.
Now, I know it's gonna cost money for the fencing, and I know cutting the grass is going to be a real chore. But I just said I would just see how council feels. Just see how council feels. Steve, you wanna,
I'll wait and see the council goes by.
has it ever been considered?
So, I think before, right when Heritage Park started, there was a survey that went out. And I don't believe that like dog parks were, I don't want to call them an it thing, but an it thing at that time. That's how we actually got the basketball court, because kids in Heather Meadows kind of put a petition and were interested in having a basketball court out there, and they came to council and presented that. And we looked into it and had funds for a basketball court. I think that, it's not out of the question to have a dog park as part of Heritage. It would just need to be looked into, obviously, finances, the setting it up. I don't really know if it's all grass or you put down some type of, I don't want to say, like, I think Hatfield Township has a mixture of grass and some chips kind of places. Yeah, it's like, but, I know that there's space. I don't know if it was ever looked into anything further than someone could bring an idea, to be honest. I do not think it was part of that original survey, if I remember. That was before I worked here, so I was here in 2009. There was water fountains, pavilions, basketball, those type of things were on that survey.
Okay. So I could say, refer back to the resident that something we will consider. Is that?
Yeah, if it's, what my suggestion would be, we would talk about at the strategic planning meeting, where we talk about things, that we want to plan for next year. In preparation for that, we can look into kind of what the budget would look like to put a park in, how much space it would take up, just kind of get some rough ideas. And we always hash out some ideas at the strategic planning meeting, so we can certainly add it to that agenda. That's kind of where we make our brainchilds for the following year. So I think that that's a great idea. We can look into it at that meeting, if you want to report back that.
Okay. Good. Hold on. Well, and then, I'm not done. Another resident, you know what the parking situation is in Heather Meadows. It's really bad. She questioned about the possibility if somebody is having, and she said, a party, some function at their house. Would it be possible for parking permits to be issued for parking in Heritage Park. I told her I thought that there was no parking allowed, from dusk till dawn. But I looked at the ordinance today and it said unless permitted by the council or the borough manager. So I'm not sure, Lieutenant, what would you say to that, having parking, I mean, just by permit for certain occasions?
I believe we've had that before.
I was gonna say, we currently have that. So, and maybe that's a great idea to put that in a newsletter or communicate that, because I'm sure residents don't know. But if residents, are having a party or someone wants to park overnight, they come to the borough office and they fill out a form and they just need permission from the borough manager. And I think it says and or a council person. They just give me their license plate and we fill it out and they keep half of it with us and they put half of it in their windshield so the police know that they'll be parking. So it's available.
So it does accept.
It does, yes, but I would agree that we could be more communicative about that because I know residents probably don't know that it exists. If you ask permission of the manager and or council, we give food parking.
Okay, so is there a functioning HOA at that development? Yes, there is. So it might be a good idea to communicate that to the HOA. And then they can communicate it to all the people there. And in my experience, the times when communities like that have the biggest problems are like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, because the kids are home from college. And, everybody comes back and that's when there's no parking at all. And maybe if the HOA would ask the borough at those times of year for help, then we could grant those permits.
Okay, good. Okay, and well, that's what I promised. I know that a bill was introduced in Harrisburg about allowing the use of radar or LiDAR by municipalities. And I just wanted to ask Lieutenant, how do our police view that? Would they embrace that, or I know there are certain things.
We've been embracing it for the 27 years I've been in law enforcement.
Okay,
This is a yearly thing that we do see, and we absolutely would like to see it.
Okay, when I was a legislator, I think I voted for it 18 times, I'm not sure, I was on transportation. committee.
well, for some reason, they seem to feel that this would be the year that we're gonna get something done. I think most of the senators are in agreement with that. Right now, it's in the transportation committee.
Right, so we should make sure that, our representative and our senator are both aware
Right,
that we really want it.
right, and I know that we could issue a proposal saying that Hatfield Borough is in favor of it and send it to Senator Collette and Representative Malagary.
Right,
So-
and you could do that, you could write up and,
Previously, we had passed a resolution. We did
Yeah.
pass a resolution that, just encouraged, and I believe at the time it was Senator Greenleaf and Representative Gottschall, that, please, like, have the borough, please, we're in support of this. We hope that you're in support of it as well.
it was rural PA, it was totally against. That although and then the lieutenant can back me up on this. The share of local revenue you get out of parking traffic tickets is
Minuscule.
minuscule. But the rural legislators thought that, small townships and boroughs would set up like speed things and they catch you. And to be fair,
Money making.
when I was in high school, Allentown Road in Franconia had that situation. Like you'd be buzzing up Allentown Road at 55 miles an hour, which was the speed limit at the time. The old man, okay? But then when you got to Franconia Township, that little village there, was like 25, and everybody got stopped. And but it's not really worth it. I mean, it's not as if you do that to make revenue. So it's the rural places where the reps and senators will go for it. But there's actually fewer of them every year.
But radar would be absolutely useful for those areas that have short, because we have to do the site. Right, so for those shorter areas that people are having issues with, we be able to do traffic enforcement. And traffic enforcement, keep in mind, doesn't always mean a ticket either. We would prefer to be able to correct whatever behavior it is. Warnings are preferred. So,
Well, we could put the proposal together and then we could put it in Borough and forward to show our residents that, you know, we're trying, speeding is the problem. So we can show, well, we're in favor of this.
Would you like me to put the draft resolution on for them to see at the next meeting and see if they like it and move
Okay,
and move
right.
forward?
Now, I know that the Senate bill has not, it's Senate, the SB 459. I don't know if the House has a, with it being in committee, I don't know if they have, because I would want to put exactly what we're referring
Yeah.
to, so.
That's
I'm
another
trying to-
place where the Boroughs Association should help you. They have a guy on Capitol Hill all the time, so.
Right.
Jamie, if you call the Boroughs Association, ask them about radar, they probably could look that up and give you the House bill, so.
Okay.
And then we can talk about it when you're in next Wednesday, right? And I'll see if I can gather any information.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Any other questions for the mayor? All right, if not, we'll go to item number 6, reports and correspondence. Monthly investment reports.
Monthly investment report and the cash accounts report was in your packets. I think we talked about investments, but just wanted to highlight in January that we were actually in the positive, and $18,000+ dollars. So just wanted to highlight that. Looks like we started off the year in good standing. Hopefully it continues. We'll see.
Does anyone have any questions on the numbers? It's in the packets, so if those residents who really want to get into that, we can. All right, how about monthly EIT and LST?
Monthly EIT and LST were in your packets. I will highlight year to date. We're at a little bit over $58,000, which is down significantly from 2022. Diane and I had a conversation today just about, hey, is there a pattern why we might be down so much? It's just basically when people report. And hopefully we will continue with the pattern that we've seen where we get significant increases in March, April, and May. So we're just hoping that that number gets pulled up back to what it's been the past 2 years, which last year was pretty high at 96 at this time, but roughly in the 80s, I think we would be happy with if we see that coming in March. And then LST, want to highlight that we're a little over $12,000 year to date, and last year at this time we were at $9,666. So we are pulling in higher this year than last year.
Any questions? All right, hearing and zoning board application.
So this is a new addition to the packets, and Kate and I briefly spoke about it. There, just to keep council and mayor in the loop of applications that are coming in. I know we always kind of talk about them and then it goes on the announcement section and doesn't really ever get any other attention. Just, I know that there's probably gonna be some more zoning applications coming in over the next several months, just from people coming into the office and inquiring. You just thought it was a good addition to put every, month on the workshop meeting. Yes, there are, and here are the applications, or no, there aren't any.
Also, it's rare, but Borough Council has the right to send the solicitor to the meeting in favor or against. Or to ask for a certain condition or something like that. And it shouldn't be taken that just because you get the application that we're looking for direction on that, we're not. We assume you won't send a solicitor unless you tell us otherwise. But if there were some big application and, I'm saying like a biblical seminary or something that you had an interest in and that you wanted to support a certain variance and oppose another one. You get these every month now, you'll be able to look at them and decide whether there's an issue that you care about or not. whether you just wanna leave the zoning board, which is independent, but you appoint them, to do their job. And they're gonna hear the evidence and do it in a, what's called quasi judicial, in a, like a judge. You know, whereas borough council is more legislative and executive, you know? So it's up to you, but that's the other reason why Jamie and I thought it was a good idea to let you know what's going on. In case your neighbors come over to you and say, hey, what's happening?
Quick question on the zoning also. Have we heard anything else about the proposed development on North Broad Street? With the zoning, the North Main Street?
We are currently holding a staff and consultant meeting later this month with our staff and our consultants and the developer's staff and his consultants to discuss that property.
They requested it after they got a review by our fire marshal that was pretty discouraging if you were them. Okay, so we're gonna have they requested it and they're allowed, we're gonna have a staff meeting where everybody can talk out the issues, some of which are fire marshal, I guess there's some engineering issues as well.
And that's just representative, for borough management, there's no council that needs to be part of it.
Correct, yeah, it's just management and consultants like Chad and Kate and code office. And then the developer will bring his lawyer, engineer and himself.
Okay. If I remember correctly, right, the recommendations or the feedback they got wasn't positive, so are they responding to that?
Correct.
Okay.
They wanna meet with the staff and talk to people, including the fire marshal and the engineer. Because if they have a zoning issue, they have to go to the zoning board to fix that, or they have to change the plan. And if it's something dimensional they can't fix, like, and the fire marshal's comments, you know, dealing with where you have to have the building suit safe to get around and provide, you know, fire protection. If they can't fix it, they have to know that, because the plan's gotta change radically at that point, because how would you approve it if it's gonna be unsafe?
So they're really looking just to get that feedback, they're not looking for any assurances or anything from us.
Right, so here's the good news, we can't give them those assurances. Well, we'll report that to borough council. So we, the staff, have no vote, so we can't do that, so that's actually better. And sometimes, as you know, they come in front of you and ask for a sketch plan. And sometimes they wanna see what you think about it, you know, and that's perfectly okay too, but this is a staff meeting, they request.
Let's see, just out of curiosity, what's the next step after that? So if they're gonna get feedback, bring in more details, what do we think the next step will happen after that is? If they want to keep pursuing this or.
Right, they're gonna decide whether they wanna pursue it or not. Now, I don't know, is the applicant here? Is a buyer, right? So usually when people are under agreement, they have a due diligence period. And that, and a due diligence for zoning, if it's a development of property.
Okay.
And so, the buyer may be trying to decide whether it's worth it to stay in after a certain point, and so they wanna meet with the staff to see how bad the problems are, and are they solvable? If they're not solvable, then they can go away, you know, the agreement is out. I didn't see the agreement, but that would be normal in an agreement of sale, that they would have the ability to check the zoning out for 60, 90, 180 days before they actually are committed. So that's probably what they are. And then if they don't like the answers the staff give them, they can file with the zoning board, and, you know, get relief there.
So it's the regular process.
Right.
Yes, this meeting with staff is the first time that I remember that happening. Has that happened before?
Yeah, we do courtesy meetings for every developer. So every developer that comes in gets a freebie, which I call it. It's a courtesy meeting with the engineer and a solicitor and our staff without setting up an escrow. So this is their second, so they have set up an escrow with the borough and then they pay for Kate's time and Chad's time, those things. We might have started doing it like 4 or 5 years ago. We've been doing it for a little while. It hasn't been the whole time since I've worked here.
I remember the courtesy discussion.
Yes, yeah, they did request this. I did check with Pete and Chad first and said, hey, we've already done this once, but they do have an escrow, and we decided that because they requested it, it would be okay because they have funds to pay for it.
And lots of municipalities do these.
Good point, I think it's a good addition, and we said we can, because we do get those questions and we call you, and that's sort of the extent of stuff. Okay. Any other questions on that? If not, we'll go to our police department reports.
There's nothing really to add to that, except for we're currently in the hiring process. Just received out of their applicants, we asked the top 10 to turn in personal data questionnaires, which is a 72-page, pretty intensive biographical information set that we asked for people. Of those 10, we'll polygraph the top 5. And, we'll work from there. We're hoping to hire 3 out of this round. But there are big changes coming to the police department over the next year or so. So you'll see a lot of shuffling in positions and a lot of new faces.
How's the new building coming along? Are you guys in the design phase right now?
We're working on that. We have officers that are actually walking through what we hope to be our prototype of the building, similar to another police department. We want everybody's feedback, obviously, since we want everyone to be happy with the building. So the chief's been very good about having everybody's input into it, and we'll keep working away. Unfortunately, I'll be gone before it opens up, but it'll be pretty spectacular. What's that?
They'll have you back for ribbon cutting.
Yeah, if I'm gonna travel back for that. I might have to watch it over Facebook.
Any questions from the town? All right, next will be the fire department report.
There was no specific report included in your packets, but as always, Butch attends the meetings if you have any specific questions for him. I'm sure there'll be something in the future packet. We just met on the 1st of the month.
Yeah, we
Just
should be
like
caught up
last
by
month.
next month.
EMS, you don't have any EMS report either?
Correct. I expect that to be in at the regular meeting.
That leads us to public works. Steve, is there things you want to highlight for public works?
Yeah, like always, there's a couple things. Obviously, thank goodness we haven't had really any snow. I was actually sharing a fun fact with Jamie today. I was going back through my records past 3 winters, including this one. And 3 years ago, we used, I believe, it was 164 tons of salt in that winter. Last winter was 90 tons of salt. To date, right now, we're at 9 tons. So that's so that was just a little fun fact I found today while I was trying to figure out what we had, if I needed to order any. It's very easy to get right now.
Sure.
But one thing I will note under the electric department is I got a notification from North Bend Water, I believe it was about probably mid-January, that they wanted to tear down the old pump house on Roosevelt Ave for the water tower. The water tower was not active. It's basically, to my knowledge, it's used to hold the solar on top. And maybe some cellular antennas as well. But they're trying to get rid of the pump houses as they don't need them anymore. They're not using them, so they want to remove that, tear it down. The issue is our controls for the star that's on top of the water tower were mounted to that. So we just had to do a little configuring, moving some things around to be able to get it clear and free from the building so they could tear it down with no adverse effects on our electric. So that was all completed. And we started replacing storm sewer lines and heavy metals.
Yeah, I saw it.
And it's temporary paving as of right now because all blacktop plants in our general area are closed down for the winter yet.
When do they typically?
I found out today, one that we just opened an account with is possibly not opening at all this year. Another one, I think they said March 20th, and there's another one that's looking maybe early next week. So it's kind of just a matter of constantly calling and emailing these plants and seeing when they're open.
I know because the weather's been so warm that they would modify the schedules.
That was my expectation that they would do that. But I think they kind of rely on the winters so that they can shut down for the winters and do needed maintenance on the plants that they can't do throughout the normal year because they need to stay open to supply the blacktop. So there are plants open. It's just the distance that we would have to travel with the hot asphalt to get back to our job. It would, I don't want to take the chance of getting too cold to work with and then having to throw out the blacktop. So they're fine. The inlets are fine right now. There's only 3 locations that need hot asphalt. They're okay for another month until we can get it done.
Any questions for Steve? All right, how about our engineering report?
The engineering report was included in your packets. I will just highlight 2 items. The first is the ADA ramp replacement project is going out to bid on NBID, and it'll be listed in the reporter starting this Friday. So we do have bid opening scheduled in March and a pre-bid meeting scheduled in mid-March. And that we are working with Chad, and Chad is going to send over, and we will send to Kate, temporary construction easements that we will need for properties located on West School, Jade, Jean, and June, right? Jade,
No, June.
no June, okay.
J. Jean Westford.
Jade, Jean, West School, thank you. And also Chad submitted the 2022 chapter 94 report for the borough. And this report was submitted on February 21st, and that's just an annual review of the borough sewer flows, projected flows, and to identify any development areas or concerns that are in Hatfield Borough. So he submitted that end of February for us. Were there any other questions about his report?
That's good to know. How about zoning officer building code?
Zoning officer's report was in your packets. I will just highlight, it more goes with the fire safety as well, that 15 notices of violations were issued for properties that did not pay their 2022 fire safety inspections. And since those notice of violations have been issued, Katie has been receiving many calls to make good on the payments. So we're making progress. And as you can see, he issued some conditional use and occupancy for a resale, 6 permits, and no other citations.
Any other questions? If not, looks like we don't have, fire marshal safety, and we don't have pool advisory. Reports, any updates?
Correct.
All right, if nothing, or, if we're done with item 6, we'll go to item 7, manager reports.
My report was included in your packets. I will just highlight a few things. So at your places this evening was a CMAQ grant update. So I know we've been requesting this for a while, and the update just states that the final inspection of the project was held in September 2022. They believe that the system is operating correctly and it's being monitored by PennDOT. That as we had stated before, the borough has a computer that's been placed into our office. And that once we have access to the system, we should be able to view the system and monitor any faults on that system. Currently, we just do not have access to that system, and we've been trying to get access since December of last year. So when Anton sent this report, it had listed, McMahon can help you with access. So Katie reached out to Anton today and was like, hey, can you help us with getting access to this system? because we can't see if there's a backup or any faults, because we can't view the system. So that's kind of where we are at right now.
Jamie, I don't know, it's quite frustrating when you're traveling on, Capitol Road, Main Street, and, you have 40 cars backed up waiting for light at Vine Street, and you get to go through the crossing and see 2 cars waiting on Vine Street. Now, it seems it could be an adjustment there that let them stack up more on Vine Street and not more traffic through on Main Street. I don't know why they're not seeing that or catching that point, but I'm wondering if that's something that could be adjusted.
Yeah, I can talk to Anton, and then he's always like our liaison for that. I would say I agree with the same, that since the synchronization was started, or I guess completed, right when you pull up to West Vine, it switches the light. It's almost immediately. You used to wait a while longer, and I'm not sure if that was part of the plan, because people were complaining about waiting on West Vine, but it does back up all the way down to Giant on Main Street and past the Borough office, the opposite way. So I will take your comments back to Anton and see if there was any adjustments that can be made. When I asked him for the original update, I did express that I don't believe that council is 100% satisfied with the outcome of the synchronization, but I can give him more specifics.
Thank you.
We need to issue a letter stating that.
Yeah, I can certainly write a letter or whatever you like.
I think that's for Cassie.
Yeah.
But it's, let's let them know that, that this is, we review this about every month, and, this is going on for as long as I remember, so,
A long time.
yes, so, okay.
Next, just wanted to highlight items of interest, to let you know that the PSAB conference is open for registration. If anyone is interested in attending, so please let me know, and Katie and I will book a hotel room for you, and we will get you registered for the conference. It's June 4th through the 7th at the Hershey Lodge. I believe as part of your Borough magazine from PSAB or a separate magazine, you saw like the annual conference, the exhibit, everything that was going to be the agenda. I know currently Larry and myself are attending, so if anybody's interested, please let me know. Next, mobile office hours. So Senator Klett and Congressman Fitzpatrick will be holding mobile office hours at the Indian Valley Public Library the first Friday of every month from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So they'll be offering state and federal services to residents in the area. I will make sure that we get this out on our social media as well. Were there any questions for me on my report?
What was the date of the conference? June 6th?
June 4th through the 7th, but yes, most, you go out that Sunday. Most go out that Sunday on the 4th and then come home Wednesday. We are talking about trying to do something like we did last year for PMEA, for those municipalities that own and operate their own electric system, that since a lot of us will be out there, try to do something for PMEA. So if that's another incentive to see some of our electric friends, they'll be out there too.
Questions from the manager? If not, we'll go to item 8, new business.
So the 2023 Public Works seasonal help advertisement was included in your packets. Just wanted to let you know that we're looking for summer help. If you know anybody that is the age of 18 with a valid PA driver's license, send them our way, and we'd be happy to interview them for a summer help position.
All right, liquid fuels.
The 2023 liquid fuels notice of payment was included in your packets. For 2023, we received $85,329.79. That is up a little bit from in 2022, we received $83,475.55.
Any questions? Now we'll hit number 9, old business.
I don't have any old business to discuss.
Or does do we have any action item here? So, that brings us to item number 11, are we scheduled for executive session?
We are to discuss litigation and real estate issues.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilman Drexler, second from Councilman Fagan. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.